Welcome to episode 3 of the ModernPreneur Podcast, where listeners come to learn, grow, and succeed. Today, we have an amazing topic that we're going to discuss. It's one of Jazz's favorite things to talk about. Woo! And we're going to bring you guys so much value in this conversation. So let's get started.
All right. So today, our topic is manifesting your dreams. What does that mean? What does it mean to manifest? What are affirmations? What is money mindset? All of these things that obviously have helped us as entrepreneurs, but really help us in life.
Right, as human beings.
Like, truly, this can be applied to anything. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, but like attracting things into your life that you want, it can be applied to everything. So,
and I think that manifesting means a little bit different for everybody.
Facts. Yeah, so we can talk about like what that means for each of us and like kind of tell a little bit about our personal lives. So manifesting, like, to me, has been something that has helped me through depression, anxiety, and like just mindset. I used to be like the worst negative person, like truly thought about everything in a negative mindset. I was always like, I was feeding off of negative energy. Right. I always thought the worst. Again, this could be something that like could be brought into your reality by either the way that you grew up in the conditioning that you were taught as a child. Because sometimes it's like fear-based mindset is like what a lot of people live in. People live in fear. It doesn't matter what they're doing or if they're an entrepreneur, but like fear can drive a lot of emotion, which we'll get further into in a minute. But when you drive your feelings with an emotion, like it makes it that much more powerful, which is why manifesting and doing your affirmations is so important. So definitely manifesting has helped me the last like 10 years truly like become that person that like I've wanted to be mentally, which we still struggle with on a day-to-day. It's not something that you can be like, oh, I'm just perfect. Like, no, this is something that
I listened to this podcast and I did this and A, B, and C, and I'm just I'm great on the inside.
Which it's also, that's like, I heard about this stuff before I even started applying it too, which is the crazy thing is like you learn it, but until you actually apply it and start using it on the day-to-day, that's when it makes that shift.
Consistency is a huge part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to do this on a day-to-day basis. Otherwise, it's not something that will work for you. And again, it can be like whatever you want kind of thing.
Well, you've always been like way more, I would say way more into it. I would say like from an earlier point, you have been more aware that this is something that really benefits and can really enhance your life if you do it correctly. And it took me a little longer. I was definitely one of those people is like I wasn't really like into podcasts when they started. I didn't really have that like I want to say like entrepreneur or mentor or whoever it was that really stuck out at me at that time. It was just kind of like being young and growing up and going through the motions of everyday life. And then you really kind of like showed me that. And it's like, well, she showed me Gary Vaynerchuk, and that really kind of like, that was it. I was like, this is the guy. If he says the sky's blue or the sky's green, I'm going to listen. So like, I'm going to... sky's not green, and I would have questions, but I would hear him out. And it's just kind of like the value that he was bringing, and I kind of started getting into that and following it more. And then I really started following in your footsteps with the manifesting journal and writing down your goals and doing all of that. And I really noticed it in my life as well. But I was definitely one of those people who was like, like it's some people, it looks like it's just kind of foo-foo, where it's just like it's not
a fluff thing. Like it makes you
it's
feel
like, how is that really going to change anything? And I think that having that mindset when you're going into it is very common. And it's a lot. It's almost like a struggle with yourself that like, this isn't dumb. Like I need to do this. I need to be consistent with it. And you need to be honest.
Right, for sure.
Because if you're not honest, the universe will know your intentions.
I think too, and that's just such a great point. You do have to be honest, and you do have to, but like to that note, you do have to like trick yourself, which we're going to get deeper into in a little bit later, but it's like you have to almost fake it till you make it when it comes to this, because it's like when I first started doing it, I felt the same way. I was like, this is kind of stupid. Like,
but
it's
you
like,
laugh a little bit, right? Like, you're just kind of like,
what am I doing?
Right.
Like, it's
you're
like,
just like, you're talking to yourself, not like in the sense where you have a conversation back and forth. Like,
I mean, not back and forth, but you're like, even like, and the hardest thing is like, if you look in the mirror and you are doing affirmations too, like, you're literally
I've
like,
done that,
what am, like, it's kind of like a, what am I doing? Like, you feel kind of funny about it, but then it's like, once you consistently do that, like, all the time, it becomes second nature, and it doesn't feel like that. And that's when, like, the power shift, I think, happens, is when you start to believe yourself. And then, what do we call it? Delusional optimist. Like, you have to make yourself a delusional optimist and, like, trick your brain into going from that fear-based thinking to like positive thinking, which we literally, again, we're going to go back to a little bit of like our own personal stories, but when you grow up in a negative environment, or there's somebody in your life that is always like feeding off of negative energy, or thinking about the negative, or thinking about the worst, like constantly, like you become conditioned to that, and you don't even really realize it until you become an adult, like an adult.
Right. It's like we talked about in our last podcast episode. It's like hanging around the 5 people you hang out with, and then being a product of your environment and the way you were raised.
Yeah. And like, you don't really realize it. But then like the moment that you see something else and you start to like apply it into your life, then you're like, dang, like, this is not a healthy way of thinking. This is not a healthy way of like living my life. And there are other options out there. And so that's why we want to talk about this today, because this can be applied to, doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter like what you're doing. This is something that can help you like get yourself out of the rut when it comes to negativity, or learn a different way of conditioning your mind. So a lot of things we're going to talk about today are the teachings of people like Bob Proctor, Napoleon Hill, Jim Rohn. Oh,
Dr. Joe Dispensa.
Dr. Joe Dispensa. He is amazing. If you've never heard of him, go look him up. Again, like when you're first diving into this stuff, it does seem a little foo-foo, and it seems a little like too good to be true. And of course, we're going to get further into like, how do you actually like manifest, and how do you actually do your affirmations? Because it's not just like talking, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't just throw stuff at the wall and hope it sticks.
Right. Like there has to be an emotion and an action, and like the actual like passion behind these things. It can't just be like, I'm going to be rich one day, and then like you think that that's going to.
And then the question would be like, why do you want that money?
Right.
What do you actually want? You're like, what's the purpose of you being rich one day? What are you going to do with it?
And then, but like, and that goes into like how you do your manifesting, because there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. But like, and we talked about this on episode 2, but thinking as if you already are.
Exactly.
And putting yourself into that mind frame of like, again, it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, if you're working like a 9 to 5, if you are trying to excel in like the company or corporation that you're working with, but like, if you're trying to level up in any way, what do you have to do to be that person? And that's something that like we're going to bring our manifesting journals today, but we forgot. So, which is fine. But there's like so many different ways that you can apply this. And like, if you want to be a person, or even like, I'm trying to think of who it was, Darren Hardy, which we talked about in the last podcast. He wrote down all of the attributes of like his future wife and what he wanted in that person. And then he didn't just leave it at that, but like down to like, how did they act? Like, what was their, like, the feeling that he got when he was around this person? And, like, this person didn't exist. But then,
almost like a complete outline of how that person operates, how they handle their emotions, X, Y, Z.
And then when he did that, he didn't stop there. He then started going into, like, who does he have to be down to the T in order to attract that into his life.
Right.
Because it's a two-way street. You can't just like think these things or like wish them into existence. You have to actually like change yourself in order to become that person. And that's where the consistency comes in.
And the honesty too. It's like you have to really decide what that is, what it looks like, and decide you're going to take the steps to get there.
And it's like, if you do that on a consistent basis, then you will end up, like, something's going to change. Something's going to kick in and something's going to happen. But I want to go back to, like, the basis, too, of, like, when we first started doing this was, like, and again, if you're just getting into this could seem so foo-foo and so crazy, but what's The Secret? That was the first exposure ever to law of attraction, speaking things into existence. It's a documentary movie.
I believe it's on Netflix still.
It's also a book, but the law of attraction was like my first exposure. The quote by Napoleon Hill, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. And that's, again, where all these things that come into play, where it's like you think of as if you are. Put yourself in that position. Whatever you can think, like, you can achieve. And that's just truly like starting with the belief in yourself. And once you believe it, then you start to have these things happen in your world, because you are becoming what you need to be in order to bring that into your life. And so The Secret was one of the first exposures that we had to these things. And then trickle down, there's so many different things. Bob Proctor talks about like paradigm shifts. So, and this is again, like whether you're applying this to money or life or whatever it may be, but taking yourself out of that lack mindset. And Joe Dispensa talks about this a lot too, but like getting yourself to stop thinking about how much you're lacking, whether you're lacking in income, you're lacking in this, you're lacking in like whatever it may be, and putting yourself in like an abundance mindset.
Right.
Because you already are the person that you're going to be down the road. You just have to apply the right things. And again, this all is like, when you do this, you get this. When you do this, you get this. Like it's like this whole like world that works together when you do it. And then again, it's just like kind of goes back to like frequencies and vibrations. Like that's something where it's like we both firmly believe like
absolutely
a frequency of like a potential client or whoever, like you're matching yourself with that resonance of the world, which again can seem foo-foo and can seem crazy, but energy is energy. We are all energy.
There's a lot of flows of transfers of energy happen every second. And so it's literally, I completely agree with that. Because if you're not in a positive, and it's not, you're not going to be positive every second of every day. That's unrealistic. But it's like when you're operating in this version of yourself, this higher version of yourself, this higher thinking, you kind of let go of all that little stuff. And it kind of takes away the negative, that always finding the negative part in your day. And you start seeing, you're like, oh.
Becoming a delusional optimist.
Right. And I think like what you said about like learning that you already are in abundance, that you can't, it's like in today's world and especially the industry that we're in, all you have to do is go on Instagram, and I feel like people have FOMO every second, or they don't have this, or they don't have that, or I'm lacking here. Well, she's prettier than me, or this person's more accomplished, or this couple looks like they're so in love, and I've been alone for I don't know how long. It's just there's so many things, and I think that it's because I've fallen into that too. It's really easy to fall into that, but it's even harder to say, you know what? I'm abundant, and I'm good, and I'm choosing that, and I'm perfect. And you are. You have to tell yourself that. Maybe you're not perfect. I don't know. Let's scratch that. I don't think you should tell yourself you're perfect, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's like loving yourself and having
the higher mindset.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, like and those are depending on the things that you also say to yourself. Like it's okay to say you're perfect. Like if you like, if you're really struggling, like it's okay. Like
you really think that you're perfect and you're a good person out there operating.
We all have
shame in your game.
Yeah, we all have something to work on, and but perfection is definitely something that you can strive towards.
I think perfection's in the details. I guess that's a better way to break it down. Those little things that you're doing, that you're talking about, that's perfection. That's you choosing yourself.
Yep.
And so I think that's a better way to wrap that.
Yeah. And I think it's again, it's the things that you tell yourself. So like, that's kind of like the whole like scope of like, so in our minds, manifesting is bringing things that you want to attract into your life. And then it's like, okay, how do you do that? Well, you start to grow your mind in the way that you would become that thing that attracts that frequency or vibration into your life.
Absolutely.
And then a way to apply that is through affirmation, like daily affirmation in whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Again, this could be literally any area of your life. This could be in your love life. This could be in your work life. This could literally be quite literally anything that you want to bring.
Work life, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want to do with your life. Like that's, you can apply this in so many different areas. But it's how you do it. School.
Students,
if you want to be a better student. But and again, you're pushing yourself. Like this is a mind frame of like getting you to get out of your comfort zone and stop thinking in like the fear and the lack, and then pushing yourself to become better and better. So if you're allowing yourself to grow in that way, then you're going to attract like more stuff into your life. It just makes sense, like logically, like if you're thinking about it. If you're growing,
goes where energy flows.
Right. Yeah. If you are being positive and you're putting positive things out in the world, and you're consistently working on a goal or becoming that person that you want to be, of course you're going to manifest things into your life. And that's where like we truly also want to make note that this stuff doesn't just happen overnight. Like this is like a long journey of like doing the small things every day, which we talked about in episode 2, but becoming that person, or doing the things, or doing the affirmations, and it all works together to make it happen for you. It's not just I'm gonna manifest a bunch of money into my life, and I'm
gonna be rich, and I think the thing behind that is if you're trying to if that's your goal, it's like looking at what your goal is actually for that. Like, are you trying to own a Lamborghini and have a huge house with 900 bedrooms and 2 people that you live with?
Just because.
And that's fine if you do, but why don't you figure out why you want that and then be honest in your intention to get it?
Yeah, for sure.
And as long as you're honest with yourself, you know, I think once you lose that and then you don't have the consistency, and it's when you have that, well, I don't have what they have, and I don't have this, and I don't have that, and you lose that, I'm abundant.
And I think that's like one of my personal biggest affirmations is like being abundant, and it can be in every in happiness, in friendships, in work life, in like the clients that we choose, like all of those. Like, it's not just like you want money in your life. It's like it's more than that. It's the fact that you want like in health, wealth, happiness, and time freedom. That's something that I write in my journal at least once a week. Just that in itself is on a page: health, wealth, happiness, and time freedom. Because it's like, okay, what do you want to bring into your life? But then again, like, you can't just write these things down. You have to have, as Joe Dispensa says, is the emotion behind it. Like, you can't just, you have to feel it like to your core. And the more that you can tie your emotions to that affirmation
and let it drive it forward.
Yeah. Like, it has to, and then there's action that can be taken too. So like waking up every day, coming into the office, doing our work that we do for our clients, searching for new clients, like going after like those things, being a better person, being a better leader. Like, it all goes and boils down to that same thing that's going to help us get what we want. And it's like, again, when you do this a whole year, then you go and look back at like what you have accomplished in the last year, and you're just like you're always growing and you're always pushing yourself, but in like almost a healthier way than you would be if you were just like trying to reach a goal. It's almost like by manifesting and doing your affirmations, you can help yourself achieve the goals that you want. It's almost like taking a goal and breaking it down and then like road mapping how you're going to achieve it.
Because anything's possible, right? Literally. That's how anything that has ever existed on the face of this planet was a thought.
Yep.
In someone's brain. That started. That wasn't, it could have not
been
possible.
The invention of that plant. The invention of the trash can. Literally everything.
It was a thought in someone's head, and they were probably had 5 people standing around. I'm like, you know, dude, a bin that you throw stuff in? I don't know. You know?
And there was, I guarantee you, there was people that were like, you're
why
crazy.
don't we just burn it? Yeah, or something like that. It's like, but it's everything in your life. It has, every cause has a reaction. What is it? Every reaction. Every cause. We
went through this. Newton's third law. We went through this in the last one. I double checked, and it was every action has an equal to opposite reaction, which is so true.
Right.
Yep. So then it's like, and then to that point about like, we only use 10% of our brains. Like literally science.
It's so crazy.
Science shows that we only use 10% of our brains.
Have you ever seen that movie, Lucy? It's about that girl. I think it's Scarlett Johansson that plays it. More of like she's a regular girl.
There probably are people that can use more than 10% of their brain.
Oh, but, I'm sure.
And then this also goes into a whole other conversation that we're not going to get into today. The mind grid and all this, we're not doing that. But we're not doing that.
We could stay there way too long.
This is not the conspiracy podcast, but let me just say. But yeah, we only use 10% of our brains. So then it's like, I think when you do these things, which is, I think the Silva method is the, like, like affirmations when you're like kind of like sleepy and you're in this like weird like sleepy realm.
Right.
But I think when you do those types of things, you are probably using more brain power than you are just living your day-to-day life, which then, again, frequencies and vibrations, you're like putting so much energy. We are energy. You're putting energy into the things that you want, which is going to bring, and that doesn't matter if you believe in God, the universe, source, whatever it is, but if you're putting energy into these amazing things and things that you want, and if you're being whole and you're being true to yourself and like you have good intentions, like there's going to be some really cool stuff that comes your way.
Right.
And it's, again, it can seem foo-foo, but if you really break it down into like a roadmap, like we just said, you are starting with a goal. You're breaking down that goal. You're like, who am I going to be in order to achieve that? What do I need to do?
Right.
You're doing your daily like mindset changes. You're doing your affirmations that are going to get you to that point, and then you're acting on it. So it's like, sure, it could be foo-foo if you're just, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to do this. But it's like, no, like it's way more than that. And I wish we brought our journals to show some of the things that we like manifest.
Yes.
But like, so some of our daily affirmations can include stuff like, obviously you can do the simple ones, which are always good, especially if you're struggling with anxiety or depression. Like, I am beautiful, I'm strong, I am a good leader. Yeah, I am loved. Like those. And again, this can be foo-foo for a lot of people, and you have to like fake it till you make it. Because when you stand in the mirror for the first time and you start saying this shit to yourself, you're literally like,
I am standing here talking to myself in the mirror. And that's literally how you feel for the first couple times. I completely agree, because I've done that exercise, and it's that first time that you do it, you're like, is this like, am I really like, is this something like, you're not mentally there. Like, you have to really put yourself in the mindset that you're open.
That's the perfect. You are literally open to change. You're open to putting yourself out there. And even with like putting yourself out there with your own self, which is this weird
authenticity,
whole thing. Right. And then it's like, okay, so then like I have like, I don't, probably for like 3 years now, 4 years, I've had the same affirmations written on my mirror. I don't erase it. Like, I just leave it there.
I see.
Like,
when I come over.
just leave it there.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then you can do like morning affirmations too. So like an affirmation, if you don't know, is a repetitive or optimistic or something that is, again, it's whatever you want and whatever you can make it, but a sentence or a mantra or like something that you can repeat time and time again.
Right.
And you can always change them. You can make them whatever you want.
That's going to enhance or bring a positive outcome to your life.
Yep. So then there's like simple ones that you're like, I am beautiful, I'm strong, I am abundant, I am loved. Like, those are really great ones. But then you can always go into like something a little bit more deeper. Like, I am the energy that I attract. Like, I am the energy or the frequency to attract higher paying clients that love and respect me as a person. Or I am a good leader, or I'm a leader that leads with resistant, or I don't know,
leads with love instead of
yeah. So like you can go further and deeper into that. I'm trying to think of some other ones that
I think the one that I always like, the one that was always important to me that I made sure that I reminded myself was that I am already successful.
Now,
right now, like in the moment that I wrote it, and like today, we are already successful, and that is something that I think I know we both struggle with a lot, is because it's really hard. It falls into exactly what you said, where you look at all these other people and you're like, well, but this and them and that, and it's like, it can't be that way. You have to take stock of what you have. You have to look at what you're doing, how far you've come, and really take a second to be like, shit. Like, we've crashed my goals. You know what I mean? I've done everything that I've set out to do. Like, I have a roof over my head. I have friends that love me. I have a family that I love. You have pets that you know what I mean? You have the basics of life that people would kill for. And remember
happiness
that.
In that. Happiness, like, which again comes and goes. But then there's also the flip side of that is like, that's one of my biggest things, is because once I learned about this stuff, when I ignored it for a couple years, or maybe a year, whatever it was, when you just like, I didn't apply it. Like, I knew it, but I didn't apply it. That almost makes it worse.
Yeah.
That almost makes it like worse, because you know, but you don't do. Right. And then you like get,
because your heart has to be connected to your mind. Yeah. And if it is not connected, it's exactly like you're going to feel like, what am I doing?
Right.
You're not
and then
open.
You feel like worse about it, because you know there's this other way of thinking. But instead, and this is just that whole thing of like changing your mind, or like a paradigm shift of like, you are not in lack, or you don't need to be negative all the time, and like making that change and being a delusional optimist,
while also being patient with yourself, because it's like, while you're making these changes, it's like you also have to realize in the moments that you are trying to change. It's like, okay, because it is some real-time shit, people. It is some like, while it is happening in the moment, like, am I going to react this way, or am I going to choose to do something different? Is what would that person that I want to be, how would they respond to whatever situation I'm in?
And that's the hardest thing to do too, is because you can always divert to your old ways or your old way of thinking like that. And when we are put in the situation, because again, when you're feeling good, it's easier to want to manifest, or it's easier to go write in your journal. But it's like the moment that you feel like shit and you haven't done it, and it's like a release of energy. Like, you need to do it more for your soul in those moments than like, oh, I'm feeling good, so I'm going to go do it. But then, like, again, giving yourself patience, because when you like, again, and I've struggled with this, is like, or even honestly, since I've been pregnant, there was been like probably a couple like week lapses of me not doing my manifesting because I didn't feel good or whatever was happening. But then the moment that I do it, it's like, again, it just gives you that reset and that refresh. And so it like goes hand in hand for me. So like at nighttime, I'll do my journaling and I'll do my manifesting, and that applies to everything in my life. It applies to like, I want to be the best mom that I can be. I want to be the best leader that I can be. I want to attract the clients that we want. I want to be a better person. Like every day in every way, I'm getting better and better, whatever those normal manifests are, or affirmations are. But then it goes hand in hand for me, because then the next day, I will do my morning like abundance affirmations that I listen to on a day-to-day basis. But when I don't journal and then I let that go, it's almost like then I don't fill my mind in the morning. And then it's like this whole like thing. And again, if you allow yourself, and if you don't have patience, you can get into the mind frame of like feeling like shit about yourself because you're not doing it.
Right. It's almost like a love language for yourself. It's like between you and yourself. 100%. It's like you're learning what you need to feel good on a daily basis that actually opens your mind, opens your heart, makes you feel ready for the day. And I think that's just you learning your love language for yourself. It's a huge part of it. And I think that loving yourself is a whole conversation. And it goes back to if you can't fill others' cups until yours is full.
100%. And I mean, and that, it's just so true though, because it's like if I don't do, it's like almost like how some people like need to work out every day. Like it's like, will you get yourself,
God bless them.
Which is also though, if you think about it, it's some sort of that, like working out, or you're going after a goal, you're pushing yourself, you're bettering yourself. So it's like the same like exercise of like going and working out and like resetting yourself, letting all the negative energy go, because that is a way that some people release that energy. But like also like, again, you can do that in the manifesting or journaling or doing your affirmations. It's this refresh and reset that you do with your mind. So that's actually a really cool point, because I think people that are working out are doing a lot of these same things, and they're like, you're pushing yourself, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like the same exercise, but in a different, it's like working out with your mind.
Right.
But when you're working out, you're still pushing yourself in the same way. Right,
because you need to strengthen that muscle. And the more you strengthen that muscle, the easier it is to operate in the way you want to.
Oh, that's so crazy. It's so crazy. But then I'm trying to think of maybe some more affirmations that we can share, but I think this is a good way to like segue into like money mindset and like what does that mean? And it's, again, this is not all about like getting rich by any means. Most people who do this stuff, I think, do it either for abundance or wealth or whatever it may be. Right. But like it just goes back to being in that state of lack and not being in an abundance mindset. If you're always consistently, and this just goes with, again, everything, it can be applied to any area of your life. But if you are always focusing on not having something, whether that's money, you're not paying your bills, you're struggling with whatever it may be, if you're always focusing on that, you're going to see more of that. And it's a quote, whatever, or what you think about grows. And then
it's the same thing. It's like where your energy, it's like everything you're putting your energy towards, that's what you're going to grow. It's the same thing as that plant experiment that they always do, where they play, the one plant has classical music and it gets told how great of a plant it is every single day. And it's a beautiful plant and you love it. And then this plant gets like, I think they said negative things to it, and you're not going to grow, and it died. And this plant flourished, and it's a real experiment. I think you can find it anywhere that you look it up.
I think it's been done with rice too. Like the rice turns brown, and the other rice like turns white, which is just it's the energy, and like whatever you believe in, like it doesn't really matter. But like we are energy beings, and like you can feel if somebody walks in the room and they're positive and happy and like having a great, like you can feel that. If they're full of love and like just like happiness and filled, you can feel that. If somebody walks in the door and they are not having a good day and they are struggling or they are pissed off or whatever, anybody can say,
I'm always working on that. Yeah, I'm always trying to work on that because it can be hard.
But that just comes to show whether, again, whatever you believe in,
right?
Like we are so powerful with our energy. Like, you don't have to say anything. Like, by somebody's energy that they bring into a room,
absolutely,
you can feel that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, then there's also like the transfer of energy. And that's why like being like setting yourself up with that like right feeling and emotion is just so important, because you're going to bring more of that into your life. Or if you're super positive and happy and then you go like meet somebody and they are maybe struggling a little bit, like they're going to pick up on your energy too. So you're like, same thing. You're spreading the light or the frequency of like happiness. Right. Same, but that goes back to the whole plant thing at the same time, because it's like that energy that gets put into that can show. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Which is so just like energy and frequencies and vibrations. It's like it's all ties into life, and it's something that we're never taught in school or college or by our parents. Is like we attract so much what we think about. And that's, again, going back to the money mindset thing. But if you're always in a state of lack, you're always focused on lack.
And you'll always be lacking.
Yeah, literally. Exactly. And it's, for example, if you have a bad day and you wake up in the morning, you missed your alarm, you get in the shower, you're out of conditioner, then you get out of the shower, and then you spill your coffee everywhere, and then you
can't find your keys.
Then you can't find your keys.
Some car runs a red light, back ends,
yeah. Then you get
all kinds of shit can happen,
and then you get to work, and like it's just like like that kind of day. Yeah. But this is the law of attraction.
And things happen in threes, man.
They do.
Things happen in threes.
But this is what they talk about in the secret. The law of attraction is like when you first have that moment of like, I missed my alarm. And then you put energy into that. And then the next thing happens, like whether it was like you're out of conditioner in the shower, and then you put more energy into that. And then you get out of the shower, and it's like this whole like ripple effect of like bad shit happening time and time again on those bad days. And that's where you're like, I just had a bad day. But it's like, no, you fed into that energy of that bad day. Whereas if you were to like stop yourself in that moment when you slept through your alarm to just like USA for just a second. And like tell yourself it's okay.
The patience, having the patience with yourself.
It's okay. I'm not going to allow myself to get freaked out about this. I'm not going to stress because I'm going to be 5-10 minutes late for work. Like you're like, okay, like it's like no big deal. If you allow yourself that space to like decompress and then refresh and reset. I mean, I've done this myself, and I know for a fact that this can help you.
Oh yeah.
But again, it's so easy to just go into the like, oh, fucking this, fucking that. Like, I had a bad day. Like
everything's wrong.
And then it's like, oh, and then you just, again, like one thing after another will just keep digging you down. And I truly believe it's the energy that you put into it. Like, it's like what you think about grows. And if you're always thinking about the negative energy, then, or the same different example would be if you are aware of like a car, if you're going shopping for a new car, and then you see one that you like, and then you either purchase the car or you're thinking about it, whatever it is, and then you go driving for the next day or two or whatever, all you see is those cars. It's because it's your mind is open to that.
You've opened your mind to it,
Right, but and it's not like they probably were there before, but now you just have opened your mind to it. You're putting energy into it, and that's what your mind is seeing and showing you.
I love
so
that.
It's like you can apply that to like so many different things. So put your energy into something good and like optimist like thinking, then you're gonna get
delusional optimism.
Yes, I believe that so much, because you will have to be delusional. Like you truly have to like trick yourself. And I mean, I tell this to everybody, but like you have to trick yourself into thinking these things. And then once you do, then you're like in la la land of like nothing can go wrong, which is also like, sure, it cannot be the best mind frame, but it's better than being negative. It's better than being stuck in that like fear and lack and like pissed off and having a bad day. Like I'd rather be a delusional optimist and be like, you know what? It's going to be fine.
Right. Because that's what I love about you. I truly do. I love that about you, because I struggle with that sometimes. I'm not like, I'm more of a realist in the situation. So it's almost like when I go to like think about all this stuff, I have to apply it to like, I have to have like A, B, and C. Like this is what could happen. And like, it's always like being prepared, you know, and being planned. And it's hard to get into this like delusional optimism state where you're just, you know, anything is possible, anything can happen, because you have this like voice in the back of my head and I think this bleeds into like our childhoods and like a lot of the situations that we've gone through and continue to go through, that it's just like you get like something great can happen and then something bad happens. And it's like, this is great, but I want to be realistic that it might not happen that way. And it's like getting past that. And it's that I'm fully allowed to have whatever I can think of in my life. I can fully achieve it.
Yeah. And that also goes back to, though, like, if you are being delusional in your optimism, then you are allowing yourself to let go of things that you can't control. So then it's like, okay, if something happened that was horrible, again, every action has an equal to opposite reaction. So then it's like, you can keep telling yourself like these things that are like, okay, well, you know what? Something bad happened, but guess what? Like, if you look on the bright side of things, which it's easier said than done, obviously, especially in the moment.
But it sounds so easy. Like I get as a listener, because we've heard it. We've ate, slept, and breathed that. And so it is hard. It's like, it sounds like it's so easy for them. Look at them. They're on a podcast and they're doing it, and it's this, that, and that, and it's not that easy.
No, it's not. And you have to consistently work towards this. And again, it's like, it's doing it time and time and time again, where it's not just something where, like, this isn't just like a small part of like our lives. Like, this is something that we truly do, like, so much. Like, I wish I would have brought my books, because then it's like to show, but it's so important, and it's such a huge part of our lives that almost sometimes this is just something that I have to work through, where if I don't do my journaling or my mantras in the morning, then I get almost in a state of lack to feel like, how do I explain it? Like, that because I didn't do it, that something bad might happen. So then there's like also like that thread of the thought where you have to be like, no, like, I am already abundant. And that's something that they say, like, in some of the affirmations, is I am successful no matter what I'm doing. I am successful whether I'm sleeping, playing, or working. I'm successful whether, like, whatever it is that's happening. So it's and I have to believe that too.
And that was the big thing for me too. Is like, I think that was my number one thing. It's like, you gotta really. They've come a long way. You've done great things. Like, there's a lot of great things in your life that you've done and will do. And you just got the consistency and the patience and the having the heart connected to the mind.
Absolutely. And that's where it all comes into play when you have to do it, is because you have to put that emotion. And again, it's not just the emotion, but like nothing's going to happen for you if you don't have that emotion. If you don't believe it, the universe knows that. God knows that. Whatever you believe in, like the frequencies, the vibrations, you're not matching that frequency. But when you actually believe, and then this can go into all, like, every Disney movie that's ever been made, or all of, they're like, they always fall back onto, like, all the fairy tales of, like, believing in yourself and believing in this magic, or, like, magic is real, and, like, all these things where it's like, you know what? Like, I'm so delusional with my optimism that, like, I think it probably is real. Like, there probably is a Narnia out there. There probably is all of these things where it's like,
I will not doubt that. I do agree that there are alternate universes and alternate, like,
you believe,
things.
Yeah. And it's like, and there is people that do use more of their mind, or they have more, like, capabilities to maybe be more powerful. And I think too, it's like Joe Dispensa, he has practiced this stuff for a really long time. And again, if you're new to this, like, please go look for yourself and listen to it and take your own opinion on it. But, like, he has healed people who have been, I think, blind. He has healed people who have been in wheelchairs, but because they go to these workshops with him and they believe in their self. Or actually, what is the Netflix documentary? I think it's, what is it called? Healing. I have to look it up. I'll put it in the description below. But it's a documentary about people who have all had ailments or, like, sicknesses, cancer, in a wheelchair because of a vertebrae thing or a nerve thing, multiple stories that are back to back to back. And in this documentary, healing with your mind, that's like the whole thing. So, like, this one guy, for example, who had the vertebrae or broken whatever it was that was in a wheelchair, paralysis, I think it might have even been, when he did his, like, manifesting through his mind, healing yourself with the mind, which then can also go back into, like, ancient beliefs and all of that, where you truly, like, ancient medicine, like, you are a healer because of the way that you think and the things that you do and the energy that you attract. But he healed himself, and there was many different people, and I think it's on Netflix, but it's a documentary. And he healed himself by going, like, doing his affirmations. He would, like, close his eyes. He would, like, picture his vertebrae, and then he would, like, do surgery on himself. like in his mind. Like he would go through to the point of the whatever vertebrae that it was, and he would do whatever he needed to do mentally. Like he played out this like surgical thing like time and time again. And then it was like one day he like literally healed himself. Excuse me.
He wasn't sick anymore, right?
No. And that's like what Joe Dispensa like teaches in his work, which we've never been to a workshop, which we're going to go at some point. But like people that have been like sick or that have been in wheelchairs or whatever it is, like when you believe that you can fix yourself, like it's possible. It really is possible. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's like it really is possible.
I believe it.
It's insane. And it's all about believe it. Like using your own mind and like the energy and attracting those things into your life.
It makes me think of the going back to kind of like the children's books and like the fairy tales and like I read an article, it's interesting, the other day that it talked about how really like the origins of these fairy tales were made so children could process their emotions in a healthy way. It's so they could learn how to deal with problems in a way that wasn't scary. And it made me think of that when you just said that like a couple minutes the other day. I almost said the other day. I was like, how long have we been sitting here?
But it's so true, though.
But yeah, it's like, and you think about it, it's like, when I think about it, going back, it's like that is what it is. Yeah. It's like you're really, it's like believing in this.
That's always the it's always if you believe, like if you believe, like believe, just believe, like that's like the baseline of like all of the fairy tales and all this. So it's like. And I think this stems from something more. You know what I mean? Like it comes from something, people who know stuff more than we do that know that like you have this power within you, which then this can go into a whole different thing where it's like we have more power than we believe. I truly, I think there's a reason we only use 10% of our brains. There's a reason we're living in this rapid world.
And we get stalled.
With all of this like work, school, like
distraction.
Yeah, for sure. All of this stuff that is like taking our energy in so many different. Yes.
I like to say.
That bogs us down. And it's like, if you take a second and you put the energy into the things that you want, like, I think God will provide, the universe will provide. Like, I truly believe that there's not something, like, you could have anything that you want. Like, I literally believe that.
Right.
And I will say, my stepfather growing up did say that to me. Yeah. And that was one thing.
Talked about that a lot.
Like, one thing. He wasn't, like, the best person in the world by any means. Right. We definitely struggled. But there was one thing that he taught me was you can literally do, like, if you can do anything that you believe, like whatever you want to do in this world, like you can do it, like you can 100%.
And I think for you, that coming from someone who had a harsher role in your life that you didn't necessarily it wasn't as supportive as maybe it was supportive, but maybe not in the ways that you wanted, or it was I guess harsh is the best way I could put that. Hi babies. I just lost my train of thought. We have the cutest dogs ever.
Yeah, they'll come on at some point. They're running around. But no, yeah, because he was harsh. He was brash.
Like, hearing that from someone who was a little harsher in your life, it really stuck with you.
Like I hear it all the time. My mom too. I won't just give him credit. My mom too. Like literally have told me my whole life when I was growing up, you can do whatever you want. Like if you believe in yourself, you can literally do whatever. And it's like I've always like I've been like cocky about it kind of thing too, but it never really like made sense until we started learning about this kind of stuff. And then it's like, okay. And then as you grow in like this whole, like I'm growing myself and like, it's all about growing and being a better person. Like that's what it boils down to.
And you don't ever stop.
No. And you always, again, we all have our moments. We all have days that are not so like whatever.
And that's why I hesitated when I said the perfect thing. When you tell yourself you're perfect, it's almost like you're stopping yourself before you can even get started.
Right. Because then I guess there's no more room for improvement. Kind of thing.
It's like, what could I work on? And not in the like, I'm not pretty this, like, what can I work on? Like, what can I work on in my own life to make me feel better?
Well, and that's just also, we can even go into like, relationships, because that's something where like I truly think that like with me and Garrett, where it was like I truly was like, if I am expecting something out of somebody, or I want something out of somebody, or I want to be in that like perfect relationship, which I just thought about this the other day where I was like, holy shit, like we literally have came so far from that. And I do think that some of my manifesting with that, and like we've talked about this before, where it's like
shout out that manifest.
Like I literally,
it is true.
Because it was like we've not been this like we are in a better place now than we ever have been. And it's like when you go through the struggles and you go through all these things, like there was at one point, I think I heard it from somebody on Clubhouse. I think it was probably 2 years ago now.
R.I.P. Clubhouse.
Right. I think it was about 2 years ago. And she said that in her relationship, she kept blaming the other person and was like, you're not doing this for me. You're not doing this for me. You're not being this, like, whatever I need right now or whatever it is.
Right, because it's very easy to look at what they're doing
blame
wrong,
and to project. Yeah. But then what she had said, what completely fixed her marriage and, like, fixed her relationship was she stopped blaming the other person and she, like, looked inward and she was like, what can I do to, like, make this better? Or, like, if I expect this from this person, what do I need to do that for them?
Right.
And then if, like, you're looking at it from that perspective and you start working on those things, again, I don't know what it is. It's frequencies, it's vibrations. It's like the universe is just, like, matching you up with what you're putting out into the world. And that's why it's like, if you have good intentions and you're doing good things, like, you're not going to be, like, struggling. You're really not. If you are really wholeheartedly putting good energy out into the world, like, things are going to provide for you. Like, opportunities are going to come. Like, it might not come right when you want it to.
Right,
but
that's the having patience. I think you're going to lose it if you don't have patience.
Yeah, and then just staying optimistic about it. And we're just, like, again, and working towards that. Because, like, even, Jeff Neal. Shout out Jeff Neal. He said, he said, when we met with him, he was like, I've just always thought that, like, if I work really hard and I'm a good person and I put my energy into the right things and I have good intentions, like, I'm creating a good life for myself. Right. And that just was
for people that don't know Jeff Neal, he's extremely, I would say, successful in this community. Yeah. He is loved by everybody. He has a beautiful daughter and a beautiful wife, and he loves what he does, and he plays in this band. And he has, I guess my point is, he has a lot of facets of his life.
He's well-rounded.
Right. Yeah. Like, he has a lot of passions and a lot of things that he's worked on. Like, I would say that this is, like, the person. I think he's, like, a good example of that.
And I don't even know if he knows that. Or, like, you know what I mean?
Just from, like, sitting, looking on the outside. That's how I feel.
But, like, that's the cool thing is, like, it just is an example. Like, that was one thing that he had said to us where he's like, I just knew that if I worked really hard and I was a good person and I put good things out into the world, like, and I had good intentions, like, I will be provided for. And when he said that, it was just kind of like do you know what you're doing, or do you dabble in this kind of stuff?
Right. It's like my dad would always say, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Yeah. And, like, being just prepared in those moments too. When you have the opportunity to do something different or change.
And I believe that I don't believe in luck. I do believe it's
right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I get what,
yeah. 100%. But it's the energy that you're putting into it, and I just can't stress that enough. Whereas like, if you have good intentions, again, that might not happen when you want it to happen. I mean, I think we said...
Right, that's everybody thinking you're lucky, right?
Right.
Or it's so easy.
Yep.
It's just so easy,
No, and it's like... But, like, again, you shift your mindset into these things, and then you start working on yourself, like, day to day, and then, like, time goes faster than you think. And then you look back a year or 2 years later, and you're just like, damn, like, you're like, this is, like, the craziest thing ever. But if you have not worked on yourself or done the self-improvement for a year or 2 years, like, you could look back and you could be like, well, man, I haven't really done a whole lot with my life. But, like, if you're always growing and changing, you're going to attract better things into your life, or you have a higher way of thinking. And that's one of also, like, my daily affirmations is my mindset matches the mindset of the high individuals that I want to attract into my life. So it's like I am thinking like those people. Like, it's like, whether it's a client or, like, somebody that I want to bring into my world, like, putting yourself in that position that, like, your energy and your mindset is attracting those types of people. Because, again, frequency matches frequency too. Like, we don't deserve, or we're not going to have somebody of amazing status come into our life. Like, and it's like that's
exactly, it takes time. And it's like when we started this, right? Sitting at the kitchen table, right?
We're attracting
it. We've been building a list of skills, what we're good at, interests, and, like, finding what aligns in that. Then there was the patience and consistency with getting started, and then going into, it's like, you can't, we didn't get clients right off the bat that were going to pay over $1,000 or even $600. Like it was, you have to work toward that. And it wasn't happening overnight. And you have to put your money where your mouth is, really.
And I truly think that a lot of the clients that we have attracted, like when we first started working with Mike McFall, like it was truly like an alignment of like, you know what I mean? Where it was like, you bring these things into your life. Like we wouldn't have deserved or been in the position to have somebody of his like stature or caliber to like come into our life. But because we grew our mind and we grew our thinking and we grew our intentions, it was like a perfect like
we aligned ourselves with the versions of the women that we wrote on that list.
Right. And it's like, and then you bring these things into your life. Or even when we first got into this office, like it's like we knew we wanted to be in a big office. We knew we wanted to have the podcast space. We knew we wanted to have like just a beautiful office that was ours, that we came to the office every day. Like that's what we wanted.
We were trying to build that reality, and that corporate, that office vibe, team vibe.
Yep. And then it's like, okay, well, I think it's like a year for like what our manifesting takes
It
place.
takes a little longer for me.
I think it's like a year.
But it does. Yeah. It's about over a year. It's a little over a year. But for me, anyway, I have noticed. Right. Like, it does. Not everything. You know what I mean? It's not everything. But with certain things. Like it's consistency, too. And opening, when your heart's connected to your mind, it's also like, is this the right time for this to happen in my life?
Right.
Just because you want something does not mean you're where you need to be at to achieve that.
Which also goes back to like letting some things go to like make room for like new things. And that could also be just mental gunk.
Or seeing a failure that you might have as just that. Like, this is happening. Okay, why is this happening? You might have messed up. You might have made a mistake. You might not have, and it went a different way. But like, what in this failure can I learn from? Why did this happen? And instead of allowing yourself I suck. You know what? I'm done. I quit. I'm over it. They're right. I suck. It's like, okay, how can I change? Like, what? Maybe if I just tweak this a little bit here and really look at it and just kind of like rearrange things, it's not.
Or looking at it as like, maybe this was a blessing in disguise. Like maybe it's what you thought, like, like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you think that that's what you want, but then if it doesn't happen, then it's like, okay, then something else comes along or whatever it is. So it's literally like, it's just such a crazy realm. It's like the frequencies and energy and what you put into things. It's insane. Like,
so
truly.
How would you suggest people get started?
Oh, I think figuring out like what you want. Like, what do you want out of life? Right. I think that's a good way to start.
Your outline is where you start.
Yeah. And
your goals.
Yep.
Start with your goals and figure out what that is.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could be
why.
Work. It could be school. It could be a relationship. It could be a friendship. It could be like whatever that goal is for you. I think that's a good place to start. And then, like, again, you're mapping it out. Like, you're truly... Again, foo-foo or not, you can still write down your goals and write down what you need to achieve them. And you're still, that's like...
And I highly recommend you guys to know your why and why you are doing that. Because that is the huge, like, setting your intention and having your heart connected to your mind is like, is knowing your why and why you may want something or why you may want this certain kind of lifestyle or whatever that is, why you want it.
Yeah, for sure. Because then that helps you drive the emotion and drive the feeling.
And help you be honest in your intentions.
And help you be consistent, too.
Exactly.
Because if you know why you're doing it, then you can always think about that reason. Whatever that reason is for you. Like, it doesn't matter. But if it drives you and puts energy in, you put energy into it, then that's going to help you. Definitely, that's going to be a motivator. But I think, just starting with, like, what your goals are. And then, again, like, breaking it down. What do you have to do in order to achieve those goals? And then not only what do you have to do, who do you have to become? Like, how do you think?
That's the most important part.
Yeah. How do you think? How do you act? Because you can say, oh, I want to make 6 figures this year and or 7 figures this year and I need to take on this many clients. Okay. That's simple math. That's whatever. Obviously that makes sense. But what person do you need to become in order to like be a 7-figure earner?
What X, Y, and Z might need to happen.
What kind of problems happen for a 7-figure earner and putting yourself in that mental? Because if you are freaking out about your 6-figure,
you can't handle what's coming down.
Then you're not ready for that. So if you can like map that out, so then starting with what you want, writing down how you're going to get there.
And the why.
But then who do you have to become in order to make that happen? And yet, like you said, that's the most important thing, is because then you start to, again, and we talked about this in podcast 1 and podcast 2, but emulating that person that you need to become. And the more that you work towards that, whether you think it's happening or not, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, dang. But it's setting your mindset and your mind frame and like having your mind shift to a different place, because you can be, and again, you might always go back and divert to your old ways every once in a while, but and that's okay. We're all learning and we're all growing, but it's how quickly can you shift it too. It's like, okay, well, something bad happens and now I just acted the way that I used to act.
And then it happened. It didn't happen to you.
Right. Yep. And then you act the way that you used to. And then it's like, okay, shit, I didn't do what I wanted to do. But then being able to still at that point shift your mind and putting yourself in that position of that higher person or who you're trying to be, and then allowing yourself to grow from that moment and learn from that moment versus being pissed off or having a bad day or whatever it is.
Right. Because, I mean, it's very easy. I think for everybody, it's very easy and convenient to be like, oh, well, this is why that happens, or, you know what I mean? And having that accountability with yourself is what really does help make that shift. For sure.
For sure. And I think, too, a good point to note is, like, anybody who has ever been successful, like an athlete, a singer-songwriter, like scientist, an artist, whoever, like people of like high status, like super high status that have achieved their goals.
The greats.
This is the same mind frame that they are consistently living. Like and whether they like know it or not, if you watch a documentary on somebody who, I think it was Da Baby. It's not?
No, that's right.
Yeah. There's a documentary that just came out about him. We watched it like a few weeks ago, but like any documentary that comes out of these people that have done like great things, I don't know if they knew what they were doing or if there was no other option, but focusing on that end goal, like, and like daydreaming and like putting yourself in like all these like crazy situations, using your imagination. These people have done that repetitively. Or even athletes, like they are consistently like, who do I have to be in order to be that person to get to that end goal, be that amazing athlete?
And that's consistency and patience.
Yeah, 100%.
Everything that it takes.
Literally. And just staying like tunnel vision on that goal.
Right.
And like and
what you need to do to get there.
Yeah. And I think too, that's something like, I think Mike McFall talks about it, and just envisioning. He does talk about
this is like his moonshot.
Yeah, he talks about, so like when you do your manifesting, you can do your affirmations, but you can also, and this is also part of like the Silva method, but you can like allow yourself to daydream or to like picture these things too. And when you do that, your mind doesn't know the difference between reality and not reality.
Right.
So if you are daydreaming or playing out this scenario in your head or whatever you want, that's where that emotion comes in, like you said, tying to like your heart and your heartstrings and having that passion behind it. So if you are envisioning yourself being a athlete that just won the Super Bowl or whatever your dream is, like you are...
Shout out Patrick Mahomes.
You are bringing that into your reality. Like you are aligning yourself with that vision. And because you believe it and you have emotion and you feel it so strongly, like you do that on a consistent basis and you are bringing that scenario like into your reality. And it's just, it's the craziest thing.
So just get started, people. Go grab a journal.
That's going to be Cal's tagline for the whole thing.
A mirror. Go grab a sticky note.
Yeah.
Grab your friend's arm. Whatever works. Whatever you can look back on. And whatever you're going to have close. And maybe start there. Start with, what do you want? What goals? What are your goals? Why do you want that? How are you going to get there? And then go from there. Then you start that outline. Okay, this is the person that I need to be to achieve this.
And I think too, it can go deeper than like just like a goal. Like I'm trying to think of like applying this to somebody who might be like in school and you want to like graduate and start your dream job or something like that. If that's something that is important to you, like taking that step to like, I wouldn't write down like the many steps that need to happen in between. I would be primarily focused on being that in that position of that career that you want. And like, what does that person emulate? And what does that person need to do? Versus like, oh, I need to do my homework every day, or I need to like do this. It's almost like it's the bigger picture and the bigger vision, and doing like those, tying that future with your emotions. I think that's going to help you. And that's where your passion's going to lie too. You're not going to be passionate about doing affirmations saying, I need to do my schoolwork every day. Like, it's like, no, where the passion comes in is like that dream job that you want. Right. And then focusing on that.
It's really important that young people know when you're that young and you're trying to manifest and trying to align yourself with the goals that you have and becoming an adult and becoming the person that you're going to be. Looking at the people you surround yourself with. Because being young and trying to do this, it can get very hard. With that, you will lose friends. That will happen. You will, as you grow and as your mind's growing and as you're really finding out who you are and how you are going to get there, you're going to realize that you need to also have the people that are in your life kind of having in the same mindset. Because then you kind of get stuck. And I think that's really important too for the younger people that are listening, that are going to start this journey of really finding themselves and figuring that out and how I'm going to get there. It's take stock of your life and like where you're at now and how and aligning it with that person. And I don't mean stop talking to people and you just look at your daily,
what you're feeling,
your daily, where your energy's going. And I think that for you too, it's like it's not a people pleaser because I don't like that term, but it's almost like it's. You'll take on the emotion of somebody else to your detriment.
Facts.
And allowing that to not happen. And I think that's just a huge part of
it's something that I'm working on for sure. Because, I mean, it's hard, though, because you're like, you want to help everybody and you want to give everybody your energy. Yeah. But that's something that I personally do struggle with is, like, I only have so much energy to give. And it's at this point, too, like, I'm about to have a kid literally within the next 5 weeks. And it's like, my energy is going to be locked up in, like, growing.
And your shift on life changes. Yeah. Like, the way you view things, it changes. And that's why it's like, and life's going to change. And you're going to figure out what that version of you is now and what she needs. Which you know what I mean? It's a whole new, and you have to, it changes, the ebbs and flows, and you have to like, sometimes what you wrote down, you might need to start anew. Like it's whatever, you know what I mean? It's like having that patience and the consistency with yourself. You will be successful. You will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Truly.
Yes.
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that's a quote by Henry Ford. And it's like, truly, whatever you are thinking, you are believing, and you are putting energy into. It doesn't matter what it is in your life. It doesn't matter what you're trying to bring into your life. If you are thinking negatively, if you have a negative money mindset and you're always thinking about that you can't pay your bills and you're struggling, it doesn't matter if you are having a bad day consistently and you're putting your energy into that, if you're putting your energy into how people treat you.
Think of it this way, you're already negatively manifesting.
Yes.
You're already doing it.
Yeah.
You're doing it every single day, except you're flowing your energy towards the negative side.
The way that you are, and again, it's not your fault if you think that way, because truly you pick up on the way that you were taught as a child on how to process your emotions and what to think about, and
it all comes down to mom and dad.
And it's like, and I mean, if you were struggling to pay bills as a child, and you're always worrying about like the next, like how to do that.
Seeing that as a child, and like your parents always struggling, your parents,
it's a thought, or
always having anxiety.
Money doesn't grow on trees, and like all of the things that come into like the way that you think about money in general, like that's gonna be something that you're gonna think as an adult. So like recognizing those things and then being like, okay, well, you know what, like I am abundant, and like change that way of thinking. Whether it applies to money, applies to life, it applies to friends, it applies to relationships, like applies to work, school, whatever you're doing, you have to put the good energy out there. You have to be a delusional optimist. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to attract the things in your life that you want through these methods. And that's why we wanted to talk about this today, is because this is seriously something that has helped both of us so much in our life, in our career, in our relationships. It's something that we truly are passionate about, whereas like I don't know where I would be if I haven't learned about these things, where it's like, and again, you don't have to be crazy with it, you don't have to, it's like cut out all the foo-foo like bullshit.
I would say for any of those naysayers, anyone that's like, I don't need to do that, cut your crap. I thought the same thing. Try it. Try it. Just give it a little shot and see what happens and be consistent with it, and you'll surprise yourself.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. I mean, we are energy. Frequencies are out there. I mean, you are matching yourself with the frequency and the vibration. Like, it's truly, I mean, it's
important. It's important.
It's so important and so passionate. And there's a lot of really smart people and successful people that do these things. So if you want what they want, you need to do what they do.
Amen, sister.
And it's just something that we wanted to share with you guys for today.
It's a huge part of the journey, no matter if you're an entrepreneur, if you're just navigating your everyday life. It is a huge facet that you can add and enhance how you're going to get these goals and how you're going to get to these places that you want and achieve the things that you want to do.
And I mean, it's, again, I was a negative thinker, like, I wish I could, like, even just put you guys in my mind back when I was, like, 18 to 21 to 22. Like, I was just full of negativity. I loved it. I loved, like, every moment of it, and I fed off of it. Right. It's like, you just bring so much more negative, like, gunk into your life. And, like, the moment that you start to release those feelings and shift your mindset into, like, being that optimist and, like, thinking about the positive side of things, it's so much easier to go through your day and, like, be positive about something versus being negative. Like, I think being negative takes more energy, truly. I think putting yourself in the negative realm takes more of your energy than it does to just, like, everything's going to be fine. Like, everything could burn down and you could lose everything you ever have.
That's where the realist in me is like, hope you have fire insurance. but it's yes, I totally get what you're saying.
There's going to be a happy side. You're going to go through shit. You're going to go through, like, bad things are going to happen. It's just the way that life goes. But it's like, if you have a strong enough mindset and mind frame to get through those things and then look at the bright side, like, it does so much more good for you than even just being negative. So even if you don't want to do the manifesting or you don't want to, like, dabble into affirmations or anything like that, just simply knowing that if you could be a little bit more optimistic during your day, like, you're probably going to
change someone else's day too.
Facts, 100%. And it's, again, frequencies, energies, and vibrations. If you are that light that comes into the room, like, people are going to feel that, and they're going to feed off of it. And it's so important, and just be the best you can be.
What that person needed too. That room that you walk into, it could be just what they needed.
More than likely, it probably is, because, again, you're put there for a reason. Truly, like, everything happens for a reason. If you're in a room with somebody who's struggling, like, your energy could help them. You don't know what people are going through, and that's a huge fact. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
If you are struggling with anxiety or depression, or you are trying to grow in a way that you kind of feel stuck, or if you really are just trying to honestly better yourself and you don't really know
where to start.
Yeah, a good way to start, or how to just, like, get yourself out of the ruts that you're in. These are all ways that you can do that. And again, I know we kind of touched on, like, some different affirmations. We can put some really great links in the description below on how to, or, like, some of the things that we've listened to specifically. Again, I know we mentioned The Secret, Bob Proctor, Law of Attraction, Darren Hardy, The Silva Method, Dr. Joe Dispensa. Like, there's so many resources out there, and you can find somebody that resonates with you. And I mean, we advise that you take that first step and just, like, listen, and then kind of just, again, shift your mind a little bit. Like, be open to change, be open to being a better you, and put yourself out there a little bit, and trust in yourself enough to be open with yourself, because that's one of the biggest things. If you are going to dabble in the affirmations, it takes some time to get comfortable. And
I completely agree. I will stand behind that. You have to be patient with yourself, and you have to actually give it a shot.
Yeah, I think, and once you do, and if you do, and you're new to this, like, we would love to hear how it goes. We would love to, like, hear your story. Manifesting your dreams, money mindset, affirmations, manifesting, all of the things is really what we wanted to talk to you guys about today. We hope we covered that enough in detail to at least help one person.
Right.
This is something we firmly believe in, and it's something that has helped us for many different facets of our life. Yeah. And it is a testament of things that we have applied that have helped us get to where we are and where we want to be. So please let us know if you agree, if you disagree, if you think this is all foo-foo, leave a comment below. We would love to address any information.
I would love to know why. Have you tried it yet? Have you been consistent?
Have you tried it yet?
Oh, man. But and too, guys, if you're struggling, please reach out to us to let us know. I listen to you guys and I believe it. I think it's great, but I don't know how to get started with it. Reach out to us. We would love to help you. We'd love to hear about what you have going on and the goal you're trying to achieve and figure out the best way that you can attack that goal.
Absolutely. And I think too, it's, again, we've said this in all the podcasts so far, but just get started and just give it a try and put yourself out there. And that's all we got for today. So
you will be successful. If you apply these things in your life, you will be successful. So if that's one thing that we can have you guys take away, you will be successful doing these things and applying it and believing in yourself, because that's step one.
Thank you so much for joining us for episode 3 of the ModernPreneur Podcast. We really hope that we brought some sort of value. We know we kind of jumped around a little bit. There's a lot to kind of digest and a lot to take in. But we appreciate you guys very much, and we will see you for episode 4.
P.S. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe.
Yes, please.
Share on all of your social platforms.
Yes. And we'll drop all the links below so you can follow us on socials too. And that's a wrap. We will see you next time.
Peace.